Liam Chen stared at his phone screen, his stomach dropping like an elevator with cut cables. The little delivered notification mocked him from beneath the photo. A photo that was supposed to go to his best friend Derek for approval, not to whoever Mr. V was in his contacts. He zoomed in on the image with shaking fingers. There he was, in nothing but his black boxer briefs, hips angled just right, one hand sliding down his stomach in a way he'd practiced 14 times in the mirror. The lighting from his bedside lamp hit his collarbones perfectly. The slight flex of his abs looked accidental but wasn't. His dark hair was artfully messy, and his expression held that confident smirk he'd been trying to perfect for weeks. It was now in the hands of a complete stranger. No, 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 he whispered, his voice rising with each repetition. But let's rewind, because 20 minutes earlier, Liam Chen had been having the worst week of his 24 years on this planet. It started when his ex-boyfriend Jason posted a photo on social media, him and his new boyfriend at some rooftop bar, looking annoyingly happy. The same boyfriend Jason had sworn was just a friend 3 months ago when Liam caught them having dinner together. Liam had been lying on his worn couch in his Brooklyn studio apartment, still in his barista uniform from the cafe, eating ice cream straight from the container while his cat, Gyoza, judged him from the windowsill. He moved on in like 5 seconds, Liam muttered to Gyoza, who yawned in response. His best friend Derek had texted, "Post something hot. Show him what he's missing. You're a whole snack and he's out here eating garbage." Liam had laughed, but the idea stuck. Not to actually send it to Jason, he had some dignity left. But maybe, just to prove to himself that he still had it. That breakup weight he'd been worried about. He'd actually lost 6 pounds from stress and forgetting to eat. Silver linings. So he changed into those black boxer briefs he bought on sale and never wore. His dark hair fell in waves over his forehead, and he angled his phone just right. The photo was tasteful, confident, a little dangerous. He looked like someone who definitely had his life together and wasn't eating cookie dough for dinner 3 nights a week. He typed a message to Derek, "Be honest, too much, or just enough to make me feel like I'm winning at life?" Except he didn't send it to Derek. His phone had autocorrected to Vith Morozov, a contact he didn't even remember adding. Probably from some work thing. Or maybe when he'd grabbed the wrong phone at the cafe last month during the lunch rush. The message delivered at 9:47 p.m. on a Friday night. Liam's first instinct was to unsend it, but his phone was 2 generations old and that feature didn't exist in his digital universe. His second instinct was to throw his phone into the Hudson River and start a new life in Canada. Instead, he did what any panicking 24-year-old would do. He sent 7 follow-up messages in rapid succession. "Oh my God, wrong person. I am so sorry. Please delete that. This is so embarrassing. I meant to send that to my friend. Please pretend you never saw that, I'm begging you." Then he waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. 5 minutes. Nothing. Maybe they were asleep. Maybe they'd already deleted it. Maybe they were a decent human being who understood accidents happen. Liam exhaled slowly, setting his phone face down on the coffee table. "It's fine," he told Gyoza, who had moved to the back of the couch and was aggressively grooming himself. "They probably don't even care. It's just a photo. People send way worse things by accident." His phone buzzed. He grabbed it so fast he nearly dropped it. The response was short. Just 3 words. "Interesting choice of lighting." Liam's blood turned to ice water. Across the city in a sleek Manhattan penthouse, Viktor Morozov set his phone down on the mahogany table and returned his attention to the 4 men sitting across from him. The meeting had been tense. A discussion about territory disputes, shipment routes, and the kind of business that never appeared on tax returns. These men represented interests from Boston, interests that had been pushing boundaries lately. When his phone had lit up with a notification, Victor had planned to ignore it. But Dmitri, his right-hand man standing by the door, had caught his eye and given the slightest nod, the signal they used when something required immediate attention. Victor had glanced at the screen. The first time in 3 years, a genuine smile had threatened to break through his carefully maintained expression. The photo was unexpected. A beautiful young man, dark hair, confident eyes, lean muscle, in black briefs that left just enough to the imagination. But it was the message that followed, 7 panicked texts in a row, that had truly captured his attention. The Boston crew had noticed his distraction. "Something amusing, Morozov?" one of them asked, an edge in his voice. Victor had locked his phone and slid it into his pocket, his face returning to its usual unreadable mask. "Just business. Nothing that concerns you." But now, with the meeting concluded and the men gone, Victor pulled out his phone again. Dmitri approached, curiosity evident despite his professionally neutral expression. "Problem, boss?" "No," Victor said slowly, studying the photo again. "The opposite, actually." He forwarded the image to Dmitri, just the photo, not the messages. Dmitri's eyebrows rose slightly, which for him was equivalent to shocked speechlessness. "Should I be concerned about a security breach?" "Find out who he is," Victor said, his tone casual but his interest anything but. "I want a full background by morning. Where he works, where he lives, who he associates with. Everything." "You think it's a setup?" Dmitri asked, immediately shifting into protection mode. Victor considered this. In his world, beautiful young men didn't accidentally send provocative photos. They were weapons, carefully aimed by rivals, or ambitious climbers looking to get close to power. Those 7 panicked follow-up messages, though. The raw, unfiltered terror in them, that felt real. "I don't think so," Victor said finally. "But I've been wrong before. Check him out." Dmitri nodded and left the room, already making calls. Victor sat back in his leather chair, looking out at the glittering Manhattan skyline. He'd been in this business for 15 years, since he was 21, when his father handed him the family legacy along with all its blood and complications. In that time, he'd seen every play in the book. Seduction attempts, blackmail, betrayal disguised as loyalty. He'd learned to trust no one fully and to keep his heart locked away somewhere even he couldn't always find. But something about this young man's panicked apologies felt different. Genuine. Human in a way his world rarely was anymore. And then there was the scent. Even through a photo, even through a screen, Victor's alpha instincts had picked up on something. The young man in the picture, he was an omega. The scent markers were subtle in a digital image, but Victor had spent years honing his senses. There was a sweetness there, layered beneath the confidence. Something that made his alpha stir in a way it hadn't in years. He typed his response carefully, interesting choice of lighting. Let him wonder. Let him worry. If this was a game, he'd make his next move. If it was truly an accident, well, accidents could be interesting too. His phone buzzed again almost immediately. I'm really sorry, Mr. V. I don't even know how I got your number. Please just delete the photo. I promise this won't happen again. Mr. V. So he at least knew Victor's name, even if he claimed not to know how he'd gotten his contact information. Victor allowed himself a small smile. This was either the worst assassination attempt in history, or the most entertaining accident he'd witnessed in years. Either way, he intended to find out which. Liam didn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined worst-case scenarios. What if V. Morozov was his landlord's creepy nephew? What if he worked for his dad's construction company and would tell everyone? What if he was a lawyer who'd somehow sue him for what? He wasn't sure, but rich people sued for everything, right? By 3 a.m., he'd convinced himself that Morozov was probably just some random person who'd think he was weird and move on with their life. By 6 a.m., when his alarm went off for his opening shift at Café Bellini, he'd almost convinced himself the whole thing was a bad dream. The café was a small Italian place in Brooklyn, family-owned for 3 generations, with the best espresso in the neighborhood and a loyal crowd of regulars. Liam had worked there for 2 years, and he loved it despite the early hours and the occasional rude customer. "You look like death," Derek announced when he arrived for his shift an hour later. Derek was Liam's best friend and co-worker, with bright red hair, 6 piercings, and the confidence Liam wished he could bottle and sell. "Thanks. I didn't sleep. Hot date keep you up?" Derek waggled his eyebrows. "The opposite. I accidentally sent a sexy photo to a wrong number and now I'm spiraling." Derek's eyes went wide. "You did what? Show me." "Absolutely not. Liam Marcus Chin, you show me right now or I'm putting decaf in Mr. Peterson's order and blaming you." Liam groaned but pulled out his phone, showing Derek the conversation. Derek's expression went from amused to concerned. "Wait. Morozov? As in what? Do you know this person?" Derek grabbed Liam's arm, pulling him into the back room away from customers. "Please tell me you don't know who Viktor Morozov is." "I literally just said I don't know who this is." Derek's voice dropped to a whisper. "Viktor Morozov owns half of Brooklyn. Real estate, restaurants, import-export businesses. My cousin's boyfriend's brother works security at one of his properties, and says," he lowered his voice even more, "he's connected. Like, Mafia connected." The room tilted slightly. "You're joking." "I wish I was. He's like, untouchable. Dangerous. Nobody messes with him." Liam felt his breakfast threatening to make a reappearance. "So I accidentally sent a sexy photo to a literal crime boss. It looks that way, yeah. I'm going to die. I'm actually going to die. They're going to find me in the Hudson River and my mom will have to identify my body and breathe." Derek grabbed his shoulders. "Look," he responded, "right? And he didn't threaten you. That's good. Maybe he thought it was funny." Liam pulled up the message again. "Interesting choice of lighting. That doesn't sound angry. That sounds, I don't know, almost amused. Or it's what mob bosses say before they make you disappear. You watch too many movies." Before Liam could respond, the bell above the cafe door chimed. Through the window in the door, he could see their manager, Marco, frantically gesturing for them to come back to the front. They rushed out to find the morning rush in full swing. Except everyone had gone quiet. A man in an expensive charcoal suit stood at the counter. He was tall, probably mid-30s, with dark hair slicked back and a face that looked like it had been carved from marble. Everything about him screamed money and danger in equal measure. And his scent, Liam's omega instincts went haywire. Alpha. Strong. Overwhelming. Something dark and smoky, like cedar and gunpowder and winter air. It hit him like a physical force, making his knees weak and his pulse race. "I'm looking for Liam Chen," the man said, his voice smooth and professional. Liam's feet rooted to the floor. Derek subtly pushed him forward. That's me," Liam managed, his voice barely above a whisper. The man reached into his jacket. Liam's heart stopped. And pulled out a business card. "Mr. Morozov requests your presence this evening. 7 p.m. The address is on the card." He placed it on the counter between them. A car will be sent to your residence at 6:45. What? Why? The man's expression didn't change. I don't ask questions, Mr. Chen. I deliver messages. 7 p.m. I suggest you don't be late. Then he turned and walked out, leaving absolute silence in his wake. Liam stared at the card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, Morozov Enterprises, with an address in Manhattan. Well, Derek whispered beside him, at least you'll die in a nice suit. Liam would have laughed if he wasn't absolutely terrified. The rest of Liam's shift passed in a blur of anxiety and dropped plates. Well, one dropped plate, but it felt like a metaphor for his entire life falling apart. Every customer who walked through the door made him jump. Every time his phone buzzed, he expected it to be a threat or a ransom demand or something equally terrifying. By 2 p.m., when his shift ended, he'd made exactly 3 decisions. 1. He was definitely going to this meeting, because ignoring a mafia boss seemed like a worse idea than facing him. 2. He was telling at least 3 people where he'd be, so if he disappeared, someone would know to call the police. 3. He was wearing his most conservative outfit, because clearly his current approach to clothing choices was getting him in trouble. You should wear something nice, Derek argued as they walked to the subway together. If you're going out, go out looking good. I'm not going out. I'm potentially walking into a murder scene. Same dress code, honestly. Liam made it home by 3 p.m., which gave him 4 hours to completely spiral. He called his older sister Michelle, who lived in New Jersey with her husband and 2 kids. So let me get this straight, Michelle said after Liam explained the situation. You accidentally sent a sexy photo to the mob, and now you're meeting him for what exactly? I have no idea. Maybe to apologize in person before he kills me. Liam, I love you, but your life is literally a romantic comedy mixed with a crime thriller. This isn't funny. It's a little funny. Look, text me the address and check in every 30 minutes. And for the love of God, don't drink anything he gives you until you see him drink it first. At 6 p.m., Liam stood in front of his closet in his underwear, having tried on and rejected 8 different outfits. Too casual, too formal, too much like he was trying too hard, not enough like he took this seriously. He finally settled on black pants, a cream silk button-down, and the blazer he'd bought for job interviews but never wore because it made him feel like he was playing dress-up in adult clothes. His hair went up in a neat style, minimal grooming, small silver earrings. He looked like someone who definitely hadn't sent a sexy photo by accident, because he was clearly a responsible, put-together adult. The lie helped, even if he didn't believe it. At 6:43, his phone buzzed, car is downstairs. D. Liam grabbed his wallet, gave Gyoza one last pat, and headed down to the street. The car was exactly what he expected, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows that screamed nothing illegal is happening here, please don't look too closely. The driver opened the back door. He was the same man from the cafe, still in his suit, still expressionless. Mr. Chen. Hi. Are you Dimitri? Dimitri, he corrected, gesturing to the car. Shall we? Liam climbed in, his heart pounding so hard he was sure Dimitri could hear it. The interior was all black leather and tinted windows. As they pulled into traffic, Liam realized he had no idea if he was being taken to a meeting or being kidnapped. So, he said, trying to keep his voice steady, do you do this often? Pick up terrified men for your boss? Dimitri's eyes met his in the rearview mirror. First time for this particular scenario, actually. That's not reassuring. It wasn't meant to be reassuring, Mr. Chen. It was meant to be honest. They drove in silence through Brooklyn, across the bridge into Manhattan, and up through streets that got progressively fancier until they pulled up to a residential tower that looked like it cost more than Liam would make in 5 lifetimes. Dimitri opened his door. "Penthouse. He's expecting you." Liam stepped out onto the sidewalk, looking up at the building that seemed to stretch into the clouds. "Any advice?" he asked Dimitri, only half joking. Dimitri considered this. "Don't lie to him. He respects honesty. And if I'm honest and he doesn't like what I say, then it was nice knowing you, Mr. Chen." He was definitely joking. "Probably." Liam walked into the lobby, gave his name to the doorman who was clearly expecting him, and stepped into an elevator with mirrors on all sides. He watched his reflection multiply into infinity, an army of nervous Liams, all wondering how they'd ended up here. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. And there, standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows with his back to him, was Viktor Morozov. Viktor had been called many things in his 35 years. Ruthless. Calculating. Cold. Dangerous. Untouchable. No one had ever called him curious. Curiosity was a weakness in his world, a crack that enemies could exploit. Yet here he was, curious about a barista who'd accidentally sent him a photo. When Dimitri had delivered his report that morning, it had been disappointingly mundane. Liam Marcus Chen, 24, born and raised in Brooklyn. No criminal record. No connections to rival families. No debt beyond student loans and some credit card bills. He worked at a cafe, lived alone with a cat, and according to social media, had recently broken up with a boyfriend who worked in marketing and didn't deserve the angry paragraph he'd almost posted before deleting it. Omega. Unmated. Sent markers suggesting no recent heats, or at least, none he'd shared with anyone. He's nobody, Dimitri had concluded. Civilian. No connections. Which made the photo even more fascinating. In Viktor's experience, beautiful Omegas who wanted his attention tried much harder. Designer clothes, strategic appearances at his restaurants, friends of friends introducing them at carefully orchestrated events. They didn't accidentally text him half-naked photos and then panic apologize 7 times in a row. He'd spent the day in meetings, managing shipments, settling disputes, but his mind kept wandering back to Liam Chen and his terrible luck with phone contacts. By 5 p.m., he'd made a decision that surprised even himself. He'd meet him. Not because he thought he was a threat, Dimitri's report had been thorough, but because something about his chaotic authenticity intrigued him in a way nothing had in years. Now, standing by the window as the elevator announced his arrival, Viktor composed his expression into something neutral. Not threatening, but not welcoming either. He heard hesitant footsteps on the marble floor. "Mr. Morozov?" The voice was smaller than he'd expected. And the scent, Viktor's alpha instincts flared to life. Sweet, warm, like honey and vanilla and something distinctly Omega. Nervous but not afraid. Defensive but not hostile. Viktor turned. The photo hadn't done him justice. In person, Liam Chen was striking. Dark eyes that were currently wide with wariness, olive skin, full lips pressed together nervously. He'd dressed conservatively, probably on purpose, but the professional outfit couldn't hide the fact that he was beautiful. Lean muscle, graceful lines, a neck that Viktor's alpha immediately wanted to bite. And that scent. God, that scent. It was everything Viktor had been denying himself for years. "Mr. Chen," Viktor said, keeping his voice level despite the primal part of his brain that was screaming mine. "Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice?" Viktor smiled slightly. "There's always a choice. You chose not to ignore my invitation. That shows wisdom. Or terror. Sometimes they're the same thing." Viktor gestured to the seating area. Please, sit. Liam moved like he was walking toward an execution, perching on the edge of an armchair as if ready to run at any moment. His eyes darted around the penthouse, taking in the artwork, the furniture, the windows, probably looking for exits. Smart. Victor sat across from him, deliberately casual. Would you like something to drink? Wine? Water? No, thank you. I'd rather just, why am I here? Direct. Victor appreciated that. I appreciate that, he said aloud. You sent me something interesting last night. Liam's face flushed bright red. I'm so sorry. It was an accident. A stupid, mortifying accident. I don't even know how I got your number. Victor held up a hand, stopping him. I believe you. You do? The 7 panic messages were fairly convincing. Either you're genuinely embarrassed, or you're the worst intelligence operative in history. A surprised laugh escaped Liam, quickly stifled. Definitely the first one. Then we have no problem. Victor watched his shoulders relax slightly. However, I am curious. The photo was meant for someone else. My best friend. I was going to ask if it was too much or, Liam stopped, seemingly realizing he was over-explaining to a crime boss. It doesn't matter. The point is, I deleted it from my phone, and I hope you'll do the same. Please. Already done. Liam's surprise was evident. Really? I'm not in the habit of keeping compromising photos of innocent men, Mr. Chen. Despite what you may have heard about me. I haven't heard anything about you. The lie was obvious, but Victor let it pass. Then let me be clear. You're not in danger from me. You're not in trouble. You made an honest mistake, and as far as I'm concerned, we're even. We're even. You gave me the most entertainment I've had in months. Those panicked texts were genuinely amusing. Liam stared at him like he'd grown a second head. You're joking. I rarely joke, Mr. Chen. But when I do, I commit to it. Another involuntary smile crossed Liam's face, this one lasting a fraction longer. So that's it? You just wanted to meet me to say we're good? Not entirely. Victor stood, walking to the bar and pouring himself a scotch. I wanted to meet the young man brave enough, or foolish enough, to accidentally proposition a stranger and then apologize profusely instead of pretending it never happened. I'm not brave. I'm just bad with technology. Same result, sometimes. He took a sip of his drink. Tell me, Liam, may I call you Liam? Liam nodded, still looking confused. Tell me, Liam. Do you know who I am? I have an idea. And yet you came anyway. Your driver said I didn't have a choice. Dimitri says many things. You always have a choice. Liam stood then, some of his fear replaced by frustration. Okay, I'm confused. You bring me here, you tell me we're even, you're being nice, what's happening right now? Victor found himself genuinely smiling. What's happening is that you got my attention, Liam. Not many people do that. I didn't mean to get your attention. The best things never are intentional. He set down his glass. I'd like to take you to dinner. Liam's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I'm sorry, what? Dinner. You and me. Somewhere public, if it makes you feel safer. Tomorrow night. You're asking me on a date? I'm asking you to dinner. Whether it's a date depends on whether you say yes. This is insane. You're you, and I'm a barista who lives with a cat named after a dumpling. Gyoza, Victor said. Named after the Japanese dumpling, according to your social media. He's an orange tabby who hates everyone equally. The color drained from Liam's face. You investigated me. Due diligence. Wouldn't you research someone before meeting them in a private penthouse? I didn't have time to research. I was too busy panicking. Victor stepped closer, not threatening, just closer. Liam, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to be honest. Yes, I looked into your background. It's what I do. And what I found was someone who works hard, loves his family, takes care of his friends, and has spectacularly bad luck with technology. And that makes you want to have dinner with me? That makes me want to know more about you. Liam shook his head, but Victor could see his resolve wavering. This is a terrible idea. Probably. You're dangerous. Definitely. I should say no. You should, Victor agreed. But you won't. Liam's eyes met his, and for a moment, Victor saw the same young man from the photo. Confident. Bold. Unafraid. 8 o'clock, Liam said finally. Pick somewhere nice. And I'm ordering the most expensive thing on the menu. Victor's smile was genuine this time. I wouldn't expect anything less. Liam left Victor's penthouse in a daze, his mind spinning. Dimitri drove him home in the same silent efficiency as before, but this time when he opened the door, he said something that made Liam pause. He hasn't smiled like that in 3 years. What? My boss. He hasn't genuinely smiled since his sister died. Until tonight. Before Liam could respond, Dimitri was back in the driver's seat, pulling away from the curb. Liam climbed the stairs to his apartment, unlocked the door, and immediately collapsed on his couch. Gyoza jumped up beside him, demanding attention. I have a date, Liam told the cat. With a literal mafia boss. What is my life? His phone buzzed with a text from Derek, oh my god, are you alive? Liam typed back, alive. He asked me to dinner. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I'm sorry, what? Dinner tomorrow? I said yes. Liam Marcus Chen, are you insane? Probably. But he was actually kind of charming. Charming? The man probably has bodies in his basement. He lives in a penthouse. No basement. Not the point. Liam couldn't explain it to Derek, because he barely understood it himself. Yes, Viktor Morozov was dangerous. Yes, he'd had him investigated. Yes, every logical part of his brain was screaming that this was a bad idea. But there'd been something in his eyes when he smiled. Something lonely and real and human beneath all that power and danger. And against all better judgment, Liam wanted to see it again. His phone buzzed again, this time with a new number, for tomorrow. My personal line. Use it if you need anything, or if you change your mind. V. Liam saved the number, his heart doing complicated things in his chest. He thought about the photo that started this whole mess. The impulsive decision, the terrible timing, the accidentally perfect mistake. What have I gotten myself into? Gyoza purred, completely unhelpful as always. Across the city in his penthouse, Viktor Morozov poured himself another drink and stood by the window, looking out at the glittering chaos of New York. For the first time in 3 years, since the night his younger sister was killed in crossfire meant for him, he felt something other than numbness and rage. He felt curious. Interested. Almost hopeful. Liam Chen, with his accidental photos and his 7 panic messages and his terrible technology luck, had done something no one else had managed. He'd made Victor remember what it felt like to be human instead of just dangerous. Dimitri appeared in the doorway. Should I be concerned? About what? About you getting attached to a civilian. That's complicated in our world. Everything's complicated in our world. Victor said. At least this might be interesting. Dmitri was quiet for a moment. He's not like the others. I know. If your enemies find out, make sure they don't. Already on it, boss. After Dmitri left, Victor pulled up Liam's photo again. Not the accidental one, but the one Dmitri had included in his report, a candid shot from his social media, laughing with friends at a restaurant, his face bright with joy. He hadn't lied when he said he'd deleted the other photo. But this one he kept. Because something told him Liam Chen was about to change everything. And for the first time in years, change didn't terrify him. It intrigued him. Liam spent the entire next day convinced he'd imagined the whole thing. Except he hadn't, because at precisely 11 a.m., a delivery arrived at the cafe. A box wrapped in matte black paper with a single white ribbon. Derek practically materialized beside him. Open it. Open it now. Inside was a camera, a professional-grade Nikon that probably cost more than Liam's rent for 3 months. And a note written in bold, precise handwriting. Since you claim to be bad with technology, perhaps you need better equipment. Bring this tonight. V. He bought you a camera, Derek whispered, eyes wide. A very expensive camera. I can't accept this. Liam stared at the equipment like it might explode. Are you insane? That's like $5,000 of camera. Exactly. I can't. His phone buzzed. Before you panic and try to return it, I'm not buying your affection. I'm investing in your talent. Your social media shows real potential. Bring it tonight. 8 p.m. address to follow. Liam typed back with shaking fingers, this is too much. The response was immediate, I've spent more on wine I didn't drink. It's a camera, not a marriage proposal. Relax. Despite everything, Liam laughed. The address came through an hour later. Not a restaurant, his penthouse again. When Liam arrived that evening, Dmitri was waiting in the lobby, but this time his expression held something that might have been amusement. He's cooking, Dmitri said as they rode the elevator up. I'm sorry, what? He sent his private chef home. He's cooking dinner himself. Why would he do that? Dmitri's smile was subtle but genuine. You'd have to ask him. The elevator doors opened to the smell of garlic and herbs. Victor stood in the open kitchen, sleeves rolled up, stirring something on the stove. He looked normal. Domestic, even. You came, he said, not looking up. You bought me a very expensive camera. I felt obligated. Good instincts. He glanced at Liam then, and something warm flickered in his expression. Did you bring it? Liam held up the camera bag. I still think this is insane. Most good things are. He gestured to the counter. Sit. Dinner's almost ready. And after, I have a proposition for you. Liam's stomach flipped. That sounds ominous. Only if you make it ominous. They ate first, homemade pasta that was criminally good, paired with wine that probably cost more than Liam's car. The conversation flowed easier than it should have. Victor asked about his photography, his family, his dreams. Liam asked about his businesses, carefully dancing around the obvious questions about what he really did. Finally, over espresso, Victor made his move. I want to hire you. Liam nearly choked on his coffee. Excuse me? As my personal photographer. I have events, business meetings, properties that need documentation. I need someone I can trust. He paused. Someone who isn't already in my world. You want me to work for you? Yes. Why? Because you're talented. Because you're honest. And because, he hesitated for just a moment. I'd like an excuse to see you more often without it feeling like I'm stalking you. The honesty of it caught Liam off guard. I have a job. Keep it. This would be freelance. A few events a month, maybe some property shots. I'll pay you triple your cafe wages for a quarter of the hours. That's a lot of money. I have a lot of money, Liam. And I'd rather spend it on someone whose company I enjoy than on another overpriced consultant who'll tell me what I already know. Liam studied him, trying to find the catch. And if I say no? Then we finish our coffee, I have Dimitri drive you home, and we go back to being two people who shared an amusing story about a mistaken photo. He met Liam's eyes. But I hope you'll say yes. Liam thought about his student loans, his credit card bills, the way his apartment's heating barely worked. The practical side of his brain was screaming take the money. But the survival side whispered this is how it starts. I need to think about it, he said finally. Victor nodded, no disappointment in his expression. Fair enough. Take the weekend. Let me know Monday. As Dimitri drove him home later, Liam caught his eye in the rearview mirror. Is this real? He asked. The job offer? With my boss, everything is real. He doesn't play games, Mr. Chen. He either wants something or he doesn't. And right now, Dimitri's eyes held a warning. He wants you around. The question is whether you're smart enough to understand what that means. Liam swallowed hard. And what does it mean? It means you're under his protection now, whether you take the job or not. Which also means you're a target for anyone who wants to hurt him. The words hung heavy in the car. So I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't. Welcome to his world, Mr. Chen. Liam said yes. Not immediately, he made Victor wait the full weekend like he promised, mostly to prove to himself that he still had some control over the situation. But Monday morning, he texted him, when's the first event? The response came within seconds, Saturday. Black tie. I'll send a suit. I can buy my own suit. I know. But I enjoy buying you things. Humor me. The suit arrived Thursday, a stunning charcoal gray ensemble that probably cost more than Liam's entire wardrobe combined. Derek literally screamed when Liam showed him. You're living in a romance novel, Derek declared. A very dangerous, very expensive romance novel. It's just a job, babe. He bought you a suit. This is not just a job. Saturday evening, Liam stood in front of his mirror, barely recognizing himself. The suit fit perfectly, which meant Victor had somehow figured out his exact measurements without asking. That should have been creepy, but instead it felt attentive. Dimitri arrived at 7 sharp. The event was at a high-end gallery in Chelsea, all marble floors, contemporary art, and people who looked like they'd never set foot in a place without valet parking. Liam clutched his camera like a lifeline. Victor found him within 30 seconds of his arrival. You look, he stopped, and something unguarded crossed his face. Stunning. The suit does most of the work. The suit is just fabric, Liam. You make it stunning. Before Liam could respond, a man approached, older, silver-haired, with a kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Victor. So good to see you. His gaze slid to Liam. And who is this lovely creature? Liam Chen, my photographer. Victor's hand settled on the small of Liam's back, light but possessive. Liam, this is Vincent Calabrese. He owns several hotels in the city. Photographer, Vincent repeated, his tone suggesting he didn't believe that for a second. How artistic. Liam felt the insult under the compliment but forced a smile. I like to capture honest moments. You'd be surprised what people reveal when they think no one's watching. Vincent's smile tightened. Victor's hand pressed slightly firmer against Liam's back, approval, or maybe warning. If you'll excuse us, Victor said smoothly, guiding Liam away. Once they were out of earshot, Liam exhaled. Did I just offend someone important? You just made Vincent Calabrese, a man who once had someone's car crushed for parking in his spot, slightly uncomfortable. That's impressive. Is he going to have my car crushed? You don't have a car. Valid point. Victor's smile was genuine. Just be careful. Not everyone here appreciates honesty the way I do. The rest of the evening was a masterclass in navigating danger disguised as sophistication. Liam photographed the event while watching Victor work the room, smooth handshakes, quiet conversations in corners, the kind of business that never got written down. He was adjusting his lens when he accidentally bumped into a man in a white suit, nearly spilling the man's champagne. I'm so sorry. The man's expression turned ice cold. Do you have any idea how much this suit costs? I know, I'm sorry. It was an accident. Accidents have consequences. The man's voice dropped dangerously low. Especially for people who don't belong. Liam's mouth went dry. Then Victor was there, appearing like he'd materialized from shadows. Marco. His voice was silk over steel. I see you've met Liam. Marco's expression shifted instantly, fear flickering behind the anger. Victor. I didn't realize he was with you. Now you do. He didn't raise his voice, didn't change his pleasant expression, but something in his tone made Marco take a step back. Liam is under my protection. I trust that won't be a problem. Of course not. My apologies. Marco disappeared into the crowd. Liam's hands were shaking. What just happened? You just learned that my world has rules you don't know yet. Victor took his elbow, gently steering him toward a quieter corner. Are you okay? I almost got murdered over champagne. He wouldn't have murdered you. Threatened, maybe. But murder requires my permission in this city. He said it so casually that Liam laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. That's not comforting. It should be. It means you're safe as long as you're with me. And if I'm not with you? Victor's expression darkened. Then don't bump into men in expensive suits. Monday morning, Liam was working his usual shift at Café Bellini when the impossible happened. Victor Morozov walked through the door. Without Dmitri. Without security. Just him, in dark jeans and a casual button-down, looking like a regular person who definitely didn't run half the criminal enterprises in New York. The entire café went silent. Derek froze mid-pour, creating a small cappuccino waterfall on the counter. Marco, their manager, looked like he might faint. And Mr. Peterson, their crankiest regular who complained about everything, suddenly decided his coffee was perfect and he should probably leave. Victor walked straight to the counter, his eyes finding Liam's. I'd like a coffee, please. Liam's brain short-circuited. You want coffee? It is a cafe. That's typically what people come here for. Right. Yes. Coffee. What kind? Surprise me. You seem like someone who knows her, his way around espresso. Derek elbowed him hard in the ribs, a clear signal to move. Liam fumbled with the espresso machine, his hands shaking slightly as he pulled a shot. He made Victor a cordido, simple, clean, the kind of drink that showed off the espresso without pretense. Victor took a sip and his eyebrows rose slightly. This is excellent. We have good coffee here. You have excellent coffee here. Why didn't you tell me you worked at the best cafe in Brooklyn? Because you already had me investigated. I assumed you knew. Victor smiled. Fair point. He took another sip, then glanced around the cafe. May I sit? Or is that going to cause problems? You being here is already causing problems, Liam said under his breath. But sure. Sit anywhere. Victor chose a small table by the window, and for the next hour, he just sat there, reading a newspaper, drinking coffee, looking perfectly normal. Except nothing about this was normal. Every customer who came in did a double take. Marco kept wiping down the same counter over and over, his eyes darting nervously toward Victor. And Derek kept texting Liam from 5 feet away, why is he here? Is this romantic? I'm freaking out. Finally, during a lull, Liam walked over to his table. You're scaring my manager. I'm just having coffee. You don't just have coffee. People like you don't just show up at random cafes. People like me? Victor set down his newspaper. What kind of person am I, Liam? Liam lowered his voice. The kind who makes everyone nervous just by existing. Not you, though. I'm terrified of you. No, you're not. Victor leaned back, studying him. You're cautious. You're smart. But you're not terrified. If you were, you wouldn't have taken the job. You wouldn't have told Vincent Calabrese that you capture honest moments. And you certainly wouldn't be standing here telling me I'm scaring your manager. He had a point. Why are you really here? Liam asked. Because I wanted to see where you work. Because I wanted coffee. And because, he paused, something genuine in his expression. Because I wanted to do something normal. Pretend for an hour that I'm just a guy who likes good espresso and interesting company. The honesty of it disarmed Liam completely. You're not just a guy, he said quietly. I know. But for 1 hour, I'd like to pretend. So Liam let him. He brought him a second coffee, then a third. He introduced him to Mrs. Chen, their regular who always ordered a latte with extra foam. He showed him the terrible painting on the back wall that the owner refused to take down. And for 1 hour, Viktor Morozov wasn't a mafia boss. He was just a man who laughed at bad art and left a $100 tip on a $15 coffee bill. 2 weeks later, Liam found himself in Victor's home office at midnight, editing photos on his laptop while Victor worked through paperwork at his desk. This had become their routine. After events, Liam would come back to edit while the images were fresh, and Victor would work on whatever mysterious business kept him up at ungodly hours. They didn't always talk. Sometimes they just existed in comfortable silence, the kind that felt oddly intimate. Tonight, Liam was humming without realizing it, some pop song that had been stuck in his head all day. He was slightly off-key, and he only noticed when Victor's pen stopped moving. Liam looked up to find Victor watching him, an expression on his face he couldn't quite read. Sorry. Was I humming terribly? Terribly, Victor said, but he was smiling. What song is that supposed to be? I don't actually know. It's been in my head for like 3 days and I can't remember the lyrics. So you're just humming random notes and hoping for the best? That's my entire approach to life, honestly. Victor laughed. Not a polite chuckle, but a real, genuine laugh that transformed his entire face. The sound was so unexpected that Liam just stared. What? Victor asked, still smiling. You laughed. Like, actually laughed. I do that sometimes. Not like that, you don't. I've seen you smile at events. This was different. From the doorway, Dimitri's voice cut through. Boss, we have... He stopped, taking in the scene, his eyes widening almost imperceptibly. "I'll come back. Dimitri." But Dimitri was already gone. Victor shook his head. "He's never going to let me hear the end of that." "End of what?" "I'll tell you when you're older." Liam threw a pen at him. Victor caught it without looking, which was annoyingly impressive. "How do you do that?" "Years of people throwing things at me." "Literally or metaphorically?" "Both." Liam returned to his editing, but the moment stuck with him. The way Victor had laughed. The way Dimitri had looked surprised. The way all of this, was starting to feel less like a job and more like something he couldn't quite name. "Liam." He looked up. Victor was watching him again, but this time his expression was serious. "You know this can't be just a job forever, right?" Liam's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Victor stood, walking around the desk toward him. "I mean that I hired you because I wanted you close. But I keep you close because I enjoy your company." And somewhere between the accidental photo and the terrible humming, that stopped being professional curiosity and became something else. Liam's mouth went dry. "Victor. You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know where I stand." "And where do you stand?" Victor stopped in front of his chair, close enough that Liam had to tilt his head back to meet his eyes. "Dangerously close to breaking my own rules about getting attached to civilians." The word attached hung between them, heavy with implication. "I should probably be smart and walk away," Liam whispered. "You should." Victor's smile was slow and devastating. "But I'm not going to." "I know." "Okay. Stop." Victor's words stayed with Liam for days. He was having coffee with Derek at their favorite diner, trying to process the previous night's conversation. He told Derek the edited version, that Victor had admitted he liked having him around, but Derek was reading between every single line. "He basically admitted he has feelings for you," Derek said, nearly vibrating with excitement. "The Mafia boss has feelings for you, girl." "Guy," Liam corrected automatically. "And it's not a Wattpad story, it's my actual life, and I have no idea what I'm doing." Derek leaned forward, his expression shifting from teasing to serious. "Okay, real talk. How do you feel about him?" "Terrified." "Besides terrified?" Liam thought about Victor's laugh, the way he looked at him when he thought Liam wasn't paying attention, how he'd shown up at the cafe just to feel normal for an hour. "I think I like him," he admitted quietly. "Which is insane, because he's dangerous and powerful and could literally have someone disappeared with a phone call. But," he paused. "But he's also kind and lonely and he makes me laugh. And when I'm with him, I feel like I'm the only person in the room that matters." Derek sat back, a knowing smile on his face. "You sent him your body by accident, and now he wants your heart. That's really dramatic." "Is it, though? Think about it. He could have any omega he wants. Probably has had dozens throw themselves at him. But you accidentally text him half-naked, panic, apologize 7 times, and somehow that's what gets his attention. You know why? Why? Because you're real. You didn't try to impress him. You didn't play games. You just were yourself. And that's what he fell for." Liam felt his chest tighten. "I don't know if 'fell for' is the right phrase." "Fine. What would you call it? Interested? Curious? Babe, the man bought you a $5,000 camera, hired you so he'd have an excuse to see you, and showed up at your workplace just to feel normal around you. That's not curiosity. That's courtship." "Courtship? Old school courtship." The kind where he's trying to show you he's serious without scaring you away. Liam dropped his head into his hands. What am I supposed to do with that? You decide if you're brave enough to fall for a man who lives in the shadows. Because that's what this is, Liam. He's giving you a choice: walk away while you still can, or step into his world knowing it's dangerous. And if I choose wrong? Derek reached across the table, squeezing his hand. Then at least you chose. That's more than most people ever get. The charity gala was held at a museum, all marble columns, champagne fountains, and people who measured their wealth in properties rather than paychecks. Liam had photographed dozens of Victor's events by now, but this one felt different. The security was tighter. Dimitri's expression was harder. And Victor himself seemed more on edge than usual. Stay close tonight, Victor told him in the car. And if anything feels wrong, find Dimitri immediately. You're scaring me. Good. Fear keeps you alert. 2 hours into the event, Liam understood why. The guest list read like a who's who of New York's most powerful families, both legitimate and otherwise. Every handshake carried weight. Every conversation had subtext. He was photographing a group near the sculpture garden when he noticed something odd. 3 men standing too close to one of the exits, not talking to anyone, just watching. Watching Victor. Liam's instincts, the same ones that had kept him safe in sketchy neighborhoods and bad relationships, screamed warning. He caught Dimitri's eye across the room and tilted his head slightly toward the men. Dimitri's expression didn't change, but he moved. The next few minutes happened fast. One of the men started walking toward Victor, hand moving inside his jacket. Liam didn't think. He just moved. He stepped directly into the man's path, camera raised like he was taking a photo, and accidentally bumped into him, hard enough to knock him off balance. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," he said loudly, drawing attention from everyone nearby. The man's hand came out of his jacket empty now, but Liam had seen the handle of a gun. By then, Dimitri and 2 other security members had surrounded them. The man was escorted out for being intoxicated, along with his 2 friends. No scene, no drama. Just a quiet removal that most guests didn't even notice. But Victor noticed. He found Liam in a quiet hallway 10 minutes later, his face unreadable. "That was incredibly stupid," he said, his voice tight. "You're welcome. You could have been hurt. So could you. There was a gun." "I know there was a gun, Liam. I saw it." His composure cracked, genuine fear breaking through. "You walked straight toward an armed man to protect me. Do you have any idea how reckless that was? About as reckless as asking a civilian to photograph your events when you knew there'd be danger." They stared at each other, both breathing hard. Then Victor closed the distance between them, his hands coming up to cup Liam's face. "Don't do that again," he said softly. "Don't risk yourself for me. Then don't give me reasons to." They ended up back at his penthouse after the gala, neither quite ready to part ways after the adrenaline of the evening. Liam was reviewing the photos on his camera when Victor poured them both drinks, whiskey this time, not wine. "Do you think he would have actually shot you?" Liam asked quietly. "Probably not. There. Too many witnesses. But he would have tried something eventually." "Who sent him? Does it matter?" "It matters if he's going to try again." "He won't try again. Dimitri is making sure of that as we speak." Liam decided not to ask what "making sure" meant. "You're shaking," Victor observed. Liam looked down at his hands. He was right. Delayed reaction, I guess. Without warning, Victor took his hand in his thumb tracing slow circles over his knuckles. The touch was gentle, almost reverent. Thank you, he said quietly. For tonight. For seeing the danger when I was distracted. You're never distracted. I am when you're in the room. The admission hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Liam turned his hand over, lacing his fingers through Victor's. This is a really bad idea, isn't it? A terrible idea. You're dangerous. I am. Your life is dangerous. It is. I could get hurt. You could. Victor's grip on his hand tightened. But I would burn down half this city before I let that happen. The intensity in his voice made Liam shiver, not from fear, but from something else entirely. Victor. Tell me to let go, Victor said, his eyes searching Liam's. Tell me you want to go home and forget this. Tell me I'm crazy for thinking someone like you could want someone like me. Tell me anything, and I'll listen. Instead, Liam leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, a question rather than a statement. But when Victor responded, his hands sliding into Liam's hair, the kiss deepened into something that felt like falling and flying at the same time. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Victor rested his forehead against Liam's. You have no idea how long I've wanted to do that, he whispered. Since the photo. Since you walked into my penthouse looking terrified but refusing to let it show. Liam laughed softly. I was definitely terrified. I know. That's what made it brave. They stayed like that for a long moment, the city glittering through the windows behind them, two people from completely different worlds, choosing each other despite every logical reason not to. I'm not going to lie to you, Victor said finally. My world is dangerous. People who want to hurt me will try to use you. You'll have protection, the best I can provide, but there are no guarantees. I know. And you're still here. I'm still here. Victor's smile was genuine and unguarded. Then I'm the luckiest dangerous man alive. Liam kissed him again, softer this time, sealing whatever decision they'd both just made. Across the room, Dimitri appeared in the doorway, saw them, and quietly backed out again, a small smile on his usually stoic face. For better or worse, Liam Chen had just stepped fully into Viktor Morozov's world. And neither of them was entirely sure if it was the beginning of something beautiful or something that would destroy them both. Maybe it would be both. 3 weeks after their first kiss, Liam started noticing the car. A black sedan, different from Victor's fleet, parked across from the cafe in the morning. The same car outside his apartment building at night. Once could be coincidence. Twice was suspicious. 3 times was a pattern. He mentioned it to Dimitri when he picked him up for an event. What kind of car? Black sedan. Maybe a Toyota. I'm not great with car models. Dimitri's jaw tightened. License plate. Liam rattled it off. He'd memorized it on day 2 of noticing the car. Stay in public places until I tell you otherwise, Dimitri said, his tone leaving no room for argument. And I'm assigning someone to you. Assigning someone? Like a bodyguard? Like someone who makes sure you stay alive. Within an hour, a woman appeared at the cafe. She was maybe 30, athletic build, with sharp eyes that tracked every customer who walked through the door. She ordered a coffee, sat in the corner, and proceeded to read a book like she had all day. Derek leaned close to Liam during a lull. Is that woman with the espresso watching you? Yes. Why is there a woman watching you? Because someone else was watching me first. Derek's eyes went wide. This is officially too much Mafia for me to handle. Before noon that evening, Victor showed up at Liam's apartment unannounced. Liam opened the door to find him flanked by 2 men he didn't recognize, his expression darker than he'd ever seen it. Pack a bag, he said without preamble. Hello to you too, Victor. I'm serious. Pack a bag. You're staying at my place until we figure out who's following you. I'm not leaving my apartment because of some car. It's not just a car. Victor stepped inside, closing the door behind him while his men stayed in the hallway. The sedan belongs to the Calabrese family. Vincent's nephew has been watching you for 2 weeks. The name clicked. Vincent Calabrese, the man from the gallery who'd looked at Liam like he was an insect. Why would he be watching me? Victor's expression was grim. Because you matter to me. Which makes you leverage. The word hung in the air, cold and calculating. So this is what you meant, Liam said slowly, when you said people would try to use me to hurt you. Yes. And the solution is what? I become a prisoner in your penthouse. The solution is you stay somewhere I can protect you while Dimitri handles the Calabrese problem. Handles. Liam repeated. What does that mean, exactly? It means you don't need to worry about the details. Victor, please. The word was quiet, almost desperate. Please just pack a bag and trust me. I can't, he stopped, his composure cracking slightly. I can't lose you because I was careless. The raw honesty in his voice made Liam's chest ache. 20 minutes later, Liam was in Victor's SUV with a duffel bag, gyoza in a carrier, and a growing sense that his life had just shifted into something he couldn't control. Living with Victor was different than Liam had imagined. Not the luxury part that he'd expected. The penthouse had a guest room that was bigger than his entire apartment, with a bed so comfortable he briefly considered never leaving it. No, the different part was how domestic it was. Victor worked from home most days, his office door open so he could see when Liam moved through the apartment. They had breakfast together, usually just coffee and whatever pastries his assistant had delivered. He asked about Liam's photography projects. Liam asked about his businesses, and Victor answered the parts that wouldn't incriminate him if questioned. It felt like playing house. Except the house came with armed guards and bulletproof windows. 5 days in, Liam found Victor on the balcony at 2 a.m., staring out at the city with a glass of whiskey. Can't sleep? Liam asked, wrapping his cardigan tighter against the cool air. Never could. Not since, he stopped. Not since your sister. Victor glanced at him, surprised. Dimitri told you? He mentioned it once. That you hadn't smiled in 3 years until you met me. Liam moved to stand beside him. Do you want to talk about it? For a long moment, he thought Victor wouldn't answer. Then. Her name was Gabriella. She was 22. Bright, reckless, wanted nothing to do with the family business. His voice was carefully controlled. She was leaving a restaurant when a rival family decided to send me a message. Wrong place, wrong time. Victor. I turned my back for 5 minutes. That's all it took. He took a sip of whiskey. After that, I promised myself I wouldn't let anyone get close enough to be used against me. No attachments. No vulnerabilities. What changed? He turned to face Liam fully. You. You and your accidental photo and your 7 panic messages. You made me curious. Then you made me laugh. Then you made me care. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind Liam's ear. And now you're the biggest vulnerability I have. Liam's breath caught. Is that why you brought me here? To control your vulnerability? I brought you here because the thought of something happening to you makes me want to burn down the entire city until I find who's responsible. His hand cupped Liam's cheek. You're not a vulnerability, Liam. You're the only thing that makes me feel human. And that's more dangerous than any gun. Liam leaned into his touch, his heart aching with the weight of his confession. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Good. So am I. What do we do?" "We figure it out together." Victor kissed his forehead gently. "I've survived this long by being smarter than my enemies. I'm not going to stop now." 2 days later, everything fell apart. Liam was editing photos in Victor's office when Dimitri burst in, his expression thunderous. Behind him were 2 tech specialists Liam had seen around but never spoken to. "We have a problem," Dimitri said, his eyes on Victor but his tone suggesting Liam was part of that problem. "What kind of problem?" "The kind where Mr. Chen's phone has been transmitting data to an outside server for the past 2 months. Liam's blood ran cold. "What?" One of the tech specialists stepped forward, tablet in hand. "Someone installed spyware on your phone. It's been recording conversations, tracking your location, and copying your messages." "That's impossible. I would have noticed. It's sophisticated software. Looks like it was installed remotely through a corrupted link. Would have required access to your contacts and browsing history." Victor's expression had gone completely blank, which Liam had learned was far more dangerous than anger. "When was it installed?" he asked quietly. "Based on the metadata, approximately 8 weeks ago." 8 weeks? Right around the time he'd taken that photo. Right around the time he'd accidentally sent it to Victor. Who has access to the server receiving the data? The specialist hesitated, glancing at Dimitri. "Tell me." "It's registered to a law firm. Hartley and Associates. The primary user is," he pulled up a file. "Jason Morrison. He's her, his ex-boyfriend," Victor finished, his eyes sliding to Liam. "The one you were trying to make jealous with the photo." Liam felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. "No. Jason's just a marketing guy. He wouldn't." "Jason Morrison is a junior associate at a law firm that represents the Calabrese family," Dimitri said, his tone flat. "He's been feeding them information for months." The room spun. "You're saying Jason planted malware on my phone?" "That the photo was," he couldn't finish the sentence. "The photo was bait," Victor said softly, dangerously. "You were supposed to send it to me. So they could track our connection. Use you to get information." "No." Liam stood, his hands shaking. "No, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But you did send it. Accidentally or not, you opened the door. Victor, please. Get out." The words were quiet but absolute. "What?" "Get your things and get out of my apartment. Dimitri will drive you home. You can't seriously think I was in on this." "I don't know what to think." His control finally snapped, voice rising. "I don't know if you're innocent or if you're the best actor I've ever met. What I do know is that since you walked into my life, I've had a security breach, my rivals have been watching my every move, and people I care about are in danger." Tears burned Liam's eyes. "I would never hurt you. You already have." His expression was carved from stone. "You made me believe someone could be genuine in this world. That was my mistake, not yours. Victor. Dimitri. Get him out of here." Dimitri moved forward, his expression apologetic but firm. "Mr. Chen. Please." Liam grabbed his bag with shaking hands, tears streaming down his face. Gyoza meowed from his carrier, sensing his distress. At the elevator, he turned back one last time. Victor stood with his back to him, hands braced on his desk, the line of his shoulders rigid with anger, and if Liam wasn't mistaken, pain. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear I didn't know." Victor didn't respond. The elevator doors closed, and Liam's world shattered. The next 3 days were the worst of Liam's life. He called in sick to work, ignored Derek's increasingly frantic texts, and sat on his couch in the same pajamas for 72 hours while Gyoza judged him from various perches around the apartment. His phone, his traitorous, corrupted phone, sat on his coffee table like evidence at a crime scene. The tech specialist had wiped it clean before he left, but Liam couldn't bring himself to touch it. Jason had used him. Planted malware on his phone. Waited for an opportunity. And when Liam had drunkenly decided to take that stupid photo, he'd probably celebrated his luck. And Victor thought he was in on it. The worst part was understanding why. In his world, trust was currency, and Liam had accidentally spent his without knowing the cost. On day 4, Derek physically broke into his apartment. "You look terrible," Derek announced, setting down bags from the deli. "Thanks. That's helpful. When was the last time you showered?" "I don't know." "What day is it?" "Thursday, babe." "You need to tell me what happened. You've been radio silent for days." "Victor's people aren't coming into the cafe anymore, and there's a rumor going around that the Calabrese family is about to go to war with the Morozovs." Liam's head snapped up. "What? You haven't seen the news?" Derek pulled out his phone, showing Liam a headline, "Brooklyn Real Estate Moguls in Escalating Feud." The article was carefully worded, nothing explicit, but the subtext was clear. The Calabrese and Morozov families were heading toward open conflict. "This is because of me," Liam whispered. "What happened?" So Liam told him everything. The spyware. Jason's betrayal. Victor's accusation. The way he'd looked at him like he was just another person trying to use him. Derek listened, his expression growing darker with each detail. "That absolute," he bit off the curse. "Jason did this?" Jason, the mediocre boyfriend who couldn't figure out how to load a dishwasher? Apparently Jason is a lot more competent than either of us realized. And Victor thinks you were part of it? Can you blame him? From his perspective, I'm either the world's unluckiest man or a really good spy. Derek was quiet for a moment. Then you need to fix this. How? He won't talk to me. I tried calling, his number's blocked. I went to his building, security turned me away. Then you go bigger. You find proof that you're innocent. You figure out exactly what Jason did and why. And you bring Victor evidence he can't ignore. Derek, I'm not a detective. No, but you're a photographer. You see things other people don't. And you're in love with him, which means you're not going to just give up because it's hard. Liam opened his mouth to deny the love part, but the words stuck in his throat. Because Derek was right. Somewhere between the accidental photo and the midnight editing sessions, between the cafe visit and the first kiss, Liam had fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Victor Morozov. And he'd be damned if he let Jason Morrison destroy that. Liam's plan was simple: confront Jason, record the conversation, and get him to admit what he'd done. It was not a good plan. Derek had pointed out approximately 17 ways it could go wrong. But it was the only plan Liam had. He tracked Jason down to his usual bar, a pretentious place in Manhattan where lawyers went to feel important. He'd dressed carefully, worn a wire, okay, it was just his phone set to record in his pocket, but still, and prepared a speech about closure. What he hadn't prepared for was the black van that pulled up beside him 3 blocks from the bar. Or the men who grabbed him before he could scream. Or the cloth pressed over his face that smelled chemical and wrong and made the world go fuzzy at the edges. His last conscious thought was, Victor was right. I should have stayed away. When Liam woke up, his head was pounding and his wrists were zip-tied to a metal chair. The room was dark, concrete walls, a single bulb hanging from the ceiling. Very generic kidnapping location, which would have been funny if he wasn't actively terrified. He's awake. A man stepped into the light. Older, well-dressed, with cold eyes that held no mercy. Vincent Calabrese. Mr. Chen. So glad you could join us. Liam's mouth was dry, his voice hoarse. If you're trying to scare me, it's working. Good. Fear means you're smart. Vincent pulled up a chair, sitting backward on it like they were having a casual conversation. Do you know why you're here? Because I'm leverage against Victor? Partially. But mostly because you're a problem. See, we installed that spyware expecting useful information. Business deals. Shipment routes. Financial records. Instead, all we got was you and Morozov having dinner. You and Morozov kissing. You and Morozov playing house like a couple of teenagers. Sorry to disappoint. Vincent's hand cracked across his face before he saw it coming. Pain exploded through his cheek. You're a complication, Vincent continued calmly. You've made Victor Morozov, the most ruthless man in New York, soft. Distracted. He broke protocol to keep you safe. That's information we can use. Liam tasted blood. He doesn't want me anymore. He kicked me out 3 days ago. We'll see. I've already sent him photos of you here. If he doesn't respond, then you're useless to us, and this gets much less pleasant. If he does respond, Vincent smiled. Then we have our leverage. He stood, walking toward the door. Wait. What happens if he doesn't come? Vincent paused. Then you become a message. The world needs to remember what happens to people who get close to Victor Morozov. The door slammed shut, leaving Liam alone in the dark with his fear and the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, Victor still cared enough to come. Victor Morozov had been called a lot of things in his life. Emotional had never been one of them. Until he opened the message with photos of Liam bound to a chair, blood on his face, terror in his eyes. The phone in his hand cracked under the pressure of his grip. Boss, Dmitri started. Find him. Victor's voice was deadly calm. Find him now, or I burn every Calabrese property to the ground starting with Vincent's house while his family is inside. We're tracking the photo metadata. Give us 20 minutes. You have 10. What followed was the most concentrated display of violence Brooklyn had seen in a decade. Victor didn't wait for strategy. Didn't wait for backup. The moment Dmitri had a location, an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook, Victor was moving. He brought 20 men. He didn't need them. But he wanted witnesses. The warehouse guards went down fast. Shots fired with precision. No hesitation. Victor walked through the building like death itself, his expression carved from ice and fury. When he found Vincent Calabrese in the back office, surrounded by his own guards, the older man actually smiled. Victor. I knew you'd come. All that talk about staying cold, and here you are, running to save your... Victor shot him in the knee. Vincent screamed, collapsing. Where is he? You're making a mistake. The second shot took Vincent's other knee. I'll ask one more time. Where is Liam? Basement, Vincent gasped. East side. But Morozov, you need to understand. I understand perfectly. Victor's voice was ice. You took something that belongs to me. He left Vincent bleeding on the floor and headed for the basement, Dmitri and his team clearing the way. The door was locked. Victor shot out the lock and kicked it open. Liam was there, still tied to the chair, his eyes wide with shock. Victor. He was across the room in 3 strides, dropping to his knees in front of him, his hands shaking as he cut through the zip ties. Are you hurt? What did they do to you? I'm okay. I'm okay. Liam's voice broke. I didn't think you'd come. Victor cupped his face gently, his thumbs brushing away tears. Of course I came, Liam. He stopped, something raw and honest breaking through his usual control. You didn't send me a photo by mistake. You sent me a warning. The moment you entered my life, everything changed. That photo wasn't an accident. It was fate telling me to pay attention. To notice you before it was too late. His voice dropped to a whisper. I'm sorry I didn't trust you. I'm sorry I let fear make me cruel. But I swear to you, I will never make that mistake again. Liam let out a sob, pressing his forehead to Victor's. I didn't know about the spyware. I swear I didn't know. I know. Malaya. Dimitri confirmed it. Jason Morrison is already being dealt with. Dealt with? You don't want to know the details. Probably true. Victor pulled him to his feet, wrapping his jacket around his shoulders. Can you walk? I think so. He kept one arm around Liam's waist as they moved through the warehouse, past the bodies of Vincent's guards, past Vincent himself, who was being loaded into an ambulance under heavy police presence. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Liam looked up at Victor, this man who'd just torn through an army to save him, and saw not a monster, but someone who'd chosen him over everything else. What happens now? Liam asked. Now, Victor's smile was soft, genuine. Now I take you home. And I spend the rest of my life making sure nothing like this ever happens again. Your home or my home? Our home, he corrected. If you'll have me. Liam rose on his toes and kissed him, ignoring the pain in his wrists and face, ignoring the chaos around them, ignoring everything except the fact that he was safe and Victor was here and somehow they'd survived. When they pulled apart, he smiled through his tears. I'll have you. Accidentally and on purpose. Victor laughed, that real, genuine laugh Liam had first heard in his office, and pulled him close. Best accident of my life, he murmured against Liam's hair. One photo, one mistake, and everything changed. 6 months after the wedding, Victor walked into the penthouse to find Liam on the couch, laptop open, laughing at something on his screen. What's so funny? Liam turned the laptop to show him. It was his old phone's message history, he'd backed it up before the tech team wiped it. There, preserved for eternity, were his 7 panicked messages to Victor from that first night. Oh my God, wrong person. I am so sorry. I was going through old files for the studio's 1-year anniversary post, Liam explained. Found these and realized we should probably save them for posterity. Victor sat beside him, reading his own response, interesting choice of lighting. I was so terrified, Liam said, smiling at the memory. I thought you were going to have me killed. I was so intrigued. I thought you were either the bravest or stupidest person I'd ever met. Can't it be both? Victor kissed his temple. It's definitely both. Liam's phone buzzed with a new message from Derek. Tell your husband the cafe misses him. He hasn't pretended to be normal in weeks. Derek wants you to visit, Liam relayed. I'll stop by tomorrow. I do miss their coffee. You miss pretending to be a regular person for an hour. That too. They sat in comfortable silence, Liam's laptop still showing those old messages, the ones that had accidentally changed everything. You know what I just realized? Liam said. What? We never did figure out how you ended up in my contacts as V. Morozov. I still don't remember adding you. Victor was quiet for a beat too long. Victor? About 13 months ago, you catered coffee for a business event at my property downtown. Vaguely. There were so many people. I was there. I saw you arguing with your manager about proper espresso technique. You were so passionate about coffee. I thought it was charming. So I asked someone to get your contact information for potential future business. Liam stared at him. You're telling me you put your number in my phone? I may have. So the accidental text wasn't entirely accidental? The text was absolutely accidental. You were supposed to reach out professionally about catering. Instead, you sent me, Victor grinned, well, you know what you sent me. Victor Morozov, you sneaky. He silenced him with a kiss, laughing against his mouth. So really, Victor said when they pulled apart, you could say I accidentally planned the whole thing. That makes no sense. Welcome to our relationship. Liam shook his head, but he was smiling. So this entire time, our accidentally perfect love story was actually you putting your number in my phone and hoping I'd call? And me sending you the most memorable wrong number text in history? I'd say we both contributed to the accident. You're impossible. And you're stuck with me. Accidentally and on purpose. Forever. Forever, Liam agreed, kissing him again. Outside the penthouse windows, New York glittered with possibility, a city full of accidents waiting to become perfect, of wrong numbers that might be exactly right, of moments that change everything with one impulsive click. And in the penthouse, two people who'd found each other in the most accidentally perfect way continued writing their story, one photograph, one burnt pasta dinner, one shared laugh at a time. Because sometimes, the best things in life aren't planned. They're accidentally perfect. The end.